Guys, tighten them up. Nose to tail. I'm not sure why we got so much big gaps. Come on, tighten them up. Alright, no change of lanes until after we start finish line. Or through wide to that backstretch. Come on, guys. Get a little closer.
Alrighty, how about it, Joel Guy? You got a copy?
I have a copy on this.
Alrighty. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, unscheduled event here for Kma Racing. It is Thursday, Tuesday. So got the Tuesday night theme loaded. It's okay. That's okay. That's not a problem. All right, Joel. So me and you got knocked out of tonight's race, unfortunately. But hey, we're gonna jump up here in the booth and try to entertain our fans. So talk to us, Joel, while I finish getting set up about the first 30 laps out here.
First 30 laps have been rough. We've had a lot of drivers getting into each other and causing cautions, taking out other drivers, a lot of just bad moves causing bad things to happen. And we've had an open room, so it's been some new drivers that we're not used to driving with, so we don't know exactly what they're going to do. And so they called something. We don't know if they're going to slow down, they're going to get out of the way, or what they're going to do. And so it's been a rough time making out through it.
Been a rough night indeed, but we're up here in the booth going with an unscheduled live broadcast for the remainder of the race. Now looking at our race summary, Joel, we're 34 laps in, 4 lead changes, 1 caution, 1 lap. Well, that information there is not accurate. That's from the time we picked up the broadcasts, but we're actually on our 4th caution, I do believe.
Yeah, I think we've had 4 because I've been involved in 2 I know of.
All right, and I did start the broadcasting software midpoint, so it's not going to register all the stats accurately, but the stats that are most important, Joel, right now we are watching Edward Bray out there on that front line, and Edward is being pushed on by the number 88. Number 88 belonging to Howard Bell, a friend of Greg McClendon. Greg McClendon is with us on TeamSpeak. I'm not sure if he's still in the field or not. 3rd place position belonging to Mark Robertson. 4th place, John Rogers. And 5th place, Rick Mason. So a lot of names out here that we're not familiar with.
Definitely a lot of names we're not familiar with, but there's a lot of them that are good friends of Greg's, and he vouched for them, so we brought them in to see how they drove, so we could determine when they come into our league how they're going to drive and what kind of driving skills and patterns they have.
Now, 2 names we are familiar with is 9th and 10th position, Kevin Scott Nelson and Dave Acacia. They're staying alive, holding out. Chris Hogue 1 lap down, but I believe he might be done and out for the evening. Ronald Klein done as well, 2 laps down, and me and you are done. So we got a small field up here. Started out with 40 drivers, 43 drivers, had to remove 7 of them. But right now we do have Edward Bray, Howard Bell, Mark Robertson, and John Rogers out there on that top 4 spots.
Yes, we do. In reference to Ronald Klein, he's still on track. He is 2 laps down, but he's pushing on 18, trying to get to the front of the field.
Number 18 on that lead lap, Rick Mason. Now, I'm pretty sure that the way things are looking right now, Joel, we're going to go caution-free for the remainder of tonight's race. We have got 4 drivers out there in the front line. We have got 2 drivers trying to catch them. Then we have got 1 driver, then 1 more driver, and then 2 more drivers. So this pack is spread out. almost guaranteed perfect situation to see some green flag racing out here.
Definitely a good situation for us to see green flag racing and hopefully green flag pit stops.
Now, believe it or not, we did screen the Thursday night field, but those cautions started rolling out as early as lap 11. It does happen, and we do have to open up these open rooms every now and then for the general public. Now, it does appear out here that Rick Mason and Joseph Rice, they have actually caught our front four. Edward Bray being our leader and leading 15 laps. But we now have a, well, it's a 2-4 down on that inside lane, 2 on the outside. This front pack giving us some good action tonight.
Definitely they are. And we've just lost one more driver that's had to go to the trailer, and that's Will Worcester is out of the race at this point.
While we are watching these drivers roll around this track at just about 200 miles an hour, talk to us about this week at Michigan so far. We had Monday, the Xfinity class. Tuesday, we were the trucks. We're coming up on Friday with the Cup cars. So far, it has not been a bad race out there.
No, so far this week, our Michigan session has been good. It was a little bit rougher on Monday than it was on Tuesday. The trucks seem to be a little bit more stable than the Xfinity cars. Hopefully we'll have a good setup for tomorrow night for the Cup cars. It being an open set, we can tweak it a little bit if we want to meet our driving style, because everybody's driving style is a little different. And we just had the 88 blow up, and he just and the 22 and the 18 are off track.
That was indeed the 22 blowing up, and the 18 indeed. 18 taking a big hit in that wall. 22 back up on track. I tell you what, that was a tough hit there, but the 88 getting into pit row. 88 spinning all through pit row. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we had 3 back-to-back replays on that Kma TV replay. All right, that will be, well, it says the second caution, but I think that's more like our 5th caution of the night.
Yeah, I think that's about our 5th caution tonight. 88 blew up, and when he blew, he slowed down so much that the 18 got into the back of him, or pushed the 22 into the back of him, and then those 2 went off track trying to stay away from the 88.
Now, I tell you what, that is not the first driver we've seen blown up tonight. Unfortunately, we saw Chris Hogue blow up. He was up there pushing Edward Bray just a few laps before we came in. In fact, that was what had brought me up into the booth. Chris Hogue was pushing on Edward Bray, and then we just saw the, I believe it was the 88 or 18 or one of them guys, but nonetheless, they blew up. So talk to our fans about what's causing these here Xfinity class to blow up.
Well, this is an older version of the Xfinity class. It's the Monte Carlo, or the Monte Carlos, and when you start getting hot with this car, you don't flash but about twice before it blows. So when that thing turns red, you better start looking for opening to cool it down. Don't wait until it starts flashing.
Well, and then she's a bear to get cooled down, of course. Now we are watching Mark Robertson. The question is now in the fuel load. Small field, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drivers out here within this front line. Pretty sure they're all going to pit, but there is still going to be some green flag pit stops. We're hoping so. They're on a 30-lap fuel load, so if you go in now, 42, be back to green flag at 45, 55, 65. They can start pitting as early out as lap 71. So we're within that one-stop window as we do indeed watch Mark Robertson and Edward Bray. Looks like Ronald Klein possibly getting his free pass.
Yeah, the 6 car just got the lucky dog, and Ronald's sitting there behind the pace car, probably going to sit there until 1 to go, and then he'll get a free pass and get one of his laps back. Of course, then he's at the point where he's not able to pit right now then, so when he runs out of fuel, he'll lose that lap back because he has to pit before everybody else.
Well, hey, I tell you about looking at that number 6 of Chris Hogue. He is in the official Kma TV Chevy Impala. And hey, big shout out there to my good friend over there, Ted Emmenheiser with Gearhead Paint Shop. Gearhead Paint Shop by Ted Emmenheiser. He is the painter of the Kma TV Chevy Impala. Looking sharp out there tonight. But I do want to talk to Mr. Ronald Klein. How about it, Ronald Klein? Have you got a copy?
Go ahead, Scott.
Rough night tonight out here. What do you think?
Yeah, I made a mistake. I had a backup car already, and somehow in the midst of it all, I didn't have it selected. I limped it back in. I was good to go. I was just going to get a new car and get out, and somehow I unchecked the box. So went 2 laps down. I think I'm going to try a strategy call here. We're right within the window to make it on one more stop, but I got to take a risk. I got about 9 gallons of fuel and try to stay out and see if I can get the other lap back.
All righty, copy that. Real quick, talk to us about what RTK is. I hear you got a couple of new members.
Yep, RTK Motorsports is a real-life dirt track racing team. Brought that over into the simulator world. Brad Ream was my first teammate, and just recently added Gary Whitmer, and then a day or so later we added Chris Hogue to the team. So we're a 4-man team. That's it. That's as big as we're going to get, and hoping that I do get a chance to work with Chris here before the race is over.
All righty, I'm taking a look around the Chevy. Appreciate you supporting Pad and RK Paints and Designs. Did you paint that one up yourself?
I did.
Looks very good. I'm liking the green and black.
Yep, those are my 2 favorite colors. So
nice. All right, good luck to you. Ronald Klein with RTK Motorsports and RK Paints and Designs.
Appreciate that, Scott. I'd like to give a big shout out to you for broadcasting, even though you're not scheduled to, and big shout out to Kma Racing for putting this on.
All right, copy that. Thank you, sir. Ronald Klein looking very sharp out there. With a race update, Mark Robertson out here leading 3 laps. John Rogers leading 18, tied with Edward Bray for 18. Now, Joel, educate the fans out here. When we say open room, what are we talking about? Aren't they all open?
No, not all the rooms are open. We have league sessions that are just strictly for our league, and that's the only members that can get into it. Is you have to be a member of our racing league. When we say open room, that means anybody in iRacing can get into the server and into the room and try to race with us. We have during practice kicked a few people because they did not meet our qualifications for in practice for racing. They were either goofing off, couldn't hold their line, or just not the quality of racer that we wanted.
Well, and the whole thing is, one might sit out there right now and scratch their head and think, well, you've had 5 cautions, what kind of quality are you talking about? Folks, even the best drivers, they're going to get out there on that field, and, we want the boys to race. There is no doubt. Now, by the time you factor in, the net code, the iRacing code, your wife jumping on a Netflix, you blink just a little bit, it's going to happen. What we're talking about are guys that cannot follow the basic rules of, it's like Negan with Walking Dead says, there are rules. Now, of course, we're not going to burn your face with an iron or beat you up with a bat named Lucille, but, we will remove you. We're talking about the basic way to start, the correct way to start. We had one driver out here tonight pull directly out of pit row right up onto that track. The rule is stay below that yellow. And these rules are all set within the hopes of ensuring a green flag race. But I tell you what, we are still seeing the bumper hooking. Drivers, oftentimes when they're back in there in the hornet's nest, back in 7th, 9th position, well, they'll get a little bump from behind, and then that bumps the guy. Imagine yourself standing in the cafeteria line with your little lunch tray, and the guy behind you bumps you, you bump the guy in front, and then you up front, well, you drop your carton of milk. Now that's been what we have seen tonight. Drivers are back to rolling, back on live action. Edward Bray in position 2, side by side with the number 22. 22, though, losing that position.
Definitely the 22's backing up. There's 3 cars got by him already, and the 4th one's fixing to. Till he gets the 20 and the 6 up to him to help push him, he's going to fall back.
Number 224, belonging to Kevin Scott Nelson, side by side with the 22 of John Rogers. In line in the Ritz Craft Chevy is the number 20 of Dave Acacia. Now, I know that Dave would love nothing more than to get hooked up with the number 224, but on that inside is the number 7 of Joseph Rice. Hey, we were talking about Pat earlier when we removed a gentleman that would not stop texting in our room. Number 7, Joseph Rice, representing Pad tonight.
Yeah, that's another thing that we'll remove drivers for, is if they start texting in our rooms. You got microphones and you got a voice. God gave us all a voice. Use it. You don't text in our racing rooms.
Take a look at the number 66 of Edward Bray. Very nice paint job on the number 66 of Edward Bray. The Reaper.
Yeah, you know, Scott, back in the 80s and the 70s, you would have never seen a green race car. That was a bad omen to show up to the racetrack with a green car. That was just a superstition of all the drivers and crew chiefs.
Number 21, Mark Robertson, sporting the green Canadian. Up north where it's cold, with the Impala from Canada out there in first place, leading his 8th lap of the night. Now, one of the rules that these drivers are used to that is not enforced on Thursday night, mics are mandatory, but not to be on our TeamSpeak, not on our master communication channel. So that there makes a little bit difference. Hey, look at that number 6, contact. Whoa, 21 down. That'll do it.
Yep, that was 20 trying to come down right behind the 21 or 22.
And we are looking at it with the number 22 and the number 20. 22 comes down, 20 comes down. Ooh, I want to back that up one more time. Say it isn't so. The number 20 of Dave Acacia, very good driver. Oh, but I do believe he may have came down, but nonetheless, wow, 1, 2, 3. You know, Joe, it's going to be easier to count the drivers that survived it than the drivers that did not survive it.
Yeah, I know that, Scott. That was just, when something happens in the very front, it's hard to stay out of it. There's just hardly any way you're going to stay out of it because they're running so close up front.
Chris Hogue and Dave Acacia both into pit row, smoking. Roger Proctor out on that track. Joseph Rice surviving. Kevin Scott Nelson surviving. Edward Bray, John Rogers still out there on that front line. All right, by my mathematics, that should be our 6th or 7th caution at the halfway point. All righty, folks, we're going to get a quick 4x4 commercial in with one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back at you. Hey, big shout out there to Pro Automotive and Blaze Pizza. Now I'm looking for Greg McClendon. Do not see Greg on field, but we're going to see if he's up here on his microphone. How about it, Greg? Have you got a copy? Greg McClendon, are you near your microphone? Alrighty, unfortunately, Greg McClendon not near his microphone, but that's alrighty. We can get out here and we can talk to Edward Bray. How about it, Edward? Have you got a copy?
I got a copy, Scott.
Alrighty, you're live, and tonight, that's saying a lot. Talk to me about that field.
The field is dwindling, that's for sure. That was pretty much a close one. I sort of anticipated the outside second car coming down, so I was already on the radio to check up. So it's a good thing that I did.
Alrighty, we are looking at the number 66 Black Talon Racing. Tell us about that paint job.
Black Talon Racing is with Lee Staples and myself. Decided to come up with a sub-team under KMA. We still race with for KMA Racing League. We have Ted Emmenheiser with Gearhead Paints that painted up our cars and our trucks. So a big shout out to Ted Emmenheiser.
Looking very sharp. Looking at the logos, you got the Black Talon, you got the Gearhead. Loving the font on the KMA Racing. Me and Joe were up here talking, and we thought with this many a few cars that the cautions would be over, but that actually happened up front. A driver following a driver down. Now, with 48 to go, with a dwindling field, do you think we're about done with those cautions?
I'm surely hoping so, Scott. Normally when we do get dwindled down to about a handful, we usually do go green the rest of the way and start having some green flag pit stops. So I'm crossing my fingers, Scott, that we can go green the rest of the race.
All right, copy that. Well, you go give him hell.
Thanks, Scott.
All righty, so we still do have out in this field, we've got John Rogers out there on that pole position. Unfortunately, not within reach of a microphone for me. Edward Bray sitting in second place. Joseph Rice in third, representing Pad. Kevin Scott Nelson. Roger Proctor. Ooh, look at the side damage on that number 55 there, Joel.
Yeah, he's got quite a bit of side damage on that car, and that's going to slow him down considerable.
Oh, driving the Whiskey River. Looks like the car might have been driven by Whiskey River. A little bit of damage on there. We've also got Frank Coons back there in sixth position. Same condition. I'll tell you what, that is some extreme side damage on the side of that 48. Ronald Klein looking very clean. I really like the paint job on that number 76, Joel. The little chick with the flag.
Yes, that's a good paint job he's got on there.
Drivers are lined up, double file. Getting ready to go back to green flag racing. John Rogers restarting to the left of Edward Bray. Big gap down on that inside lane between the number 7 and the number 55. Now, Joel, this week we're at Michigan. Next week we're going to Auto Club. And I am looking forward to going to Auto Club. You know, we started off there at, it was either Dover or Darlington. Then we moved on to Pocono, and thank goodness Pocono's over. We moved on to Michigan. Next we're going to be going to Auto Club. And then we're going to be heading out to Charlotte. Charlotte is going to be a treat to be at for these drivers.
Definitely, Charlotte will be a treat for them to be at with these drivers. The big thing about Charlotte is they're going to be changing Charlotte. It's going to be a Roval this coming season, or next season when they go there for the fall race in the Chase. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that.
It'll also be interesting for these drivers as the real life tracks get updated and repaved. iRacing follows suit with those as well. Outside lane, a little bit slower than that inside lane. 224 not tucked up on the 66 as much as the 7 is onto the 22, but still a pretty good gap. Number 55 doing everything he can to stay in line. We were talking about that damage. He's getting a little bit of help from the number 88 of Howard Bell. Riding shotgun in car with Howard Bell. Looking at the rear end of the 55 as the number 76 RTK to that outside lane. We were hoping to see Gary Whitmer Sr. out here tonight. Gary Whitmer Jr. was supposed to be hooking up Gary Whitmer Sr. to iRacing, but hopefully we will see him out here next Thursday. And that'll be pretty cool out there, father and son out here racing together, Joel.
Yes, that will be. I talked to Gary this afternoon. I chatted with him on Messenger, and he was telling me that he was setting up his dad's PC and wheeling all tonight. That's why he wasn't going to be here tonight.
Daytona 2.54 mile track. Located in sunny Florida. In car with Ronald Klein, looking at the possibility of going 3 wide. Ronald had that room. 224 folding it back down, closing that door into that middle lane. Now with this few of cars, you got to resist the temptation to really get up there and go 3 wide. You want a clean race. But I tell you what, Joel, one time me and my boys over at Kma, we were just screwing around. We put 8 of us in a room thinking we're going to run caution free. Had 9 cautions that night. And it was just because, you know, running after 10, 15 laps, green flag racing, well, you know, you get bored, you're a little tired, you try to make a move, and there it goes, you know. So you just really can't, you know, judge by the caution count oftentimes what's really going on down on that track.
No, you can't, and all it takes is a split second of lost concentration when you're running bumper to bumper and you're into somebody and spinning them.
I tell you what, TGIF tomorrow night. Looking forward to tomorrow night live broadcast. On Friday, we're going to be broadcasting out on Saturday as well. 100 laps of Talladega trucks. Six drivers.
That'll be fun. The Saturday night, the trucks will be in Talladega, and it'll be our group pretty much that we are used to racing with. So that should be a good race.
Should be a good race indeed. Edward Bray on that outside lane. Side by side with John Rogers, Joseph Rice, Kevin Scott Nelson, Roger Proctor, Ronald Klein. Lap
yeah, it's
59.
Pretty bad. We're down to 6 cars and started a field of almost 40. Well, we didn't start the field at 40. We practiced the field at 40.
It was actually up to 43.
Out.
Well, I also kicked out 7 guys, too, for not having microphones. Kicked out a couple of, I think they might have been 10, 11 years old. You know, can't have guys down there doing donuts and stuff. So by the time we thinned the field to the drivers we thought would be respectable drivers, we were down to 29, I do believe, is what we started with.
Yeah, that's what we started with, because I started dead last and I was 29.
Edward Bray clear to go down, but staying true to Kevin Scott Nelson. Plenty of room to get down. The 7 lightening up on the push of the 22. 3 wide for passing Chris Hogue. Clean pass, Chris Hogue. Slight rush with a wall. Chris Hogue up on the wall, slowing down to a dead stop. Unfortunate break for Chris Hogue. Hopefully he will get it off of track before that caution flies. Getting it back into gear, finding his mark. Chris Hogue taking her down below that yellow line. Caution will not fly. Thank you, Chris Hogue. I tell you what, that's scary up there when you're well below that speed and you've got 6, 8, 10 cars coming at you full speed. You want to get tucked up on that wall as tight as you can. And oftentimes, I've done it myself, you're going to scrape that wall, but it's better to scrape that wall to the right than to come down left and take out that lead pack. Good decision there by Chris Hogue.
Yeah, unfortunately, 24 wiggled and caught Chris in the left front fender, and that's what put Chris into the wall.
Ooh, I must have missed that one.
Yeah, I thought I saw that, so I went back on my screen and looked at it again, and he kind of moved up like he was trying to cool his car, and he moved up too quick and caught Chris right there in the left front fender.
Alrighty, I'm glad you filled us in on that. And what number was that?
That was the 224 that did that.
224 Kevin Scott Nelson. Well, he's a good driver. I know he meant no foul right there. And the way he is pushing on the number 66, he's getting that heat build up. Same way the number 7 is on the number 22 of John Rogers.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing intentional. He just didn't realize how close he was to Chris when he started to move up to breathe the front, breathe the nose of the car. Because your oil cooler's on that side, and that's what you got to try to keep cool is the oil, because the water will blow one, but the oil temperature will blow it quicker.
Putting you behind the driver's seat with Kevin Scott Nelson, we have got you actually into the cockpit. We've got you looking at it from the eyes of Kevin Scott Nelson. Now, Joel, you were talking about these dials up there, and we're looking at 4, 5 blue dials, a green dial, another blue dial. Now, they're not active for the replay. They're not active for the fans to see. But talk to us about what all the dials are and what all you got to pay attention to up here.
Well, you got oil temperature gauge, oil pressure gauge, and the oil temperature gauge is one that you want to pay a lot of attention to. The oil pressure gauge, yeah, you want to pay attention to it, but that's, once you start losing oil pressure, the engine's going to start seizing up, and you're going to know you got a problem. The oil temperature gauge is going to turn red, and when it starts getting hot, that's what will cause you to just all of a sudden pop the motor. The water temperature gauge can do the same thing, but it takes a lot longer for water temperature to pop a motor than it does oil temperature. You also have a water pressure gauge in there that lets them know when they're losing pressure on the water, when they've overheated and lost water in the engine. They know that they don't have as much water in it by the pressure gauge that's on it and how much pressure it's building.
Yep, keep talking to me, brother, as we do go 3 wide with the lap traffic of the number 6 of Chris Hogue. Good to see Chris getting back out there on that track. Also, the lap traffic of... I was going by so fast, couldn't catch a number on it. Now, riding in this group up here, we do have Howard Bell and Ronald Klein, and they are both laps down. Ronald Klein 2 down, Howard Bell 4 down. So the only drivers up here on the lead lap is Edward Bray, John Rogers, Kevin Scott Nelson, and Joseph Rice. We are on lap 66 of 100. Their fuel mileage mark will be right around 70 or 71. So, but they can stretch it, I do believe, out to about lap 80 or so.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to determine whether anybody's going to short pit or whether they're going to stretch it out to the end. and then all four come in at the same time. The more people that pit, the faster and come out of pit road, the faster you get up to speed, and the faster you catch up to the back of the pack that you left. So they really want to have at least 3, maybe 4 cars when they pit to go in pit road, so that they have a bigger pack to start racing to the front again.
Now it does appear that Howard Bell might be losing that draft just a hair. Number 7, a slight slide up, almost into contact with the number 76. But you know, at this point in time, 76 and the number 88, they're pretty much here just to help out.
Yeah, unless somebody in the front wipes out, the 76 and 88 are done for the night. I mean, they're going to finish in the top 10, but they're not going to get their laps back. They might get one of them back, but they're not going to get 2 laps back. Now the other gauge that if you're still in the in-car with Kevin Scott Nelson, the other big gauge in the center there, that's the tachometer, and that's all they've got to go by when they go on pit road to tell them how fast they're going on pit road. And pit road's got a speed limit. If you break that speed limit, that traffic cop, NASCAR cop's going to hold you for 15 seconds if you're going in. If you're going out and you break that speed limit, they're going to bring you back in for another 15-second hold on the stop and go. And what you do is you go by the tach, and it's how many RPMs equals the speed that the pace car was running when they were on pit road.
Good information right there, and it's easier to recover from a whoa, contact. Edward Bray getting a loose, but there was problems there with that lap traffic, I do believe.
Yes, there was, Scott. The 20 car did not yield high to the pack coming at him too wide. He stayed in the middle of the track, and that caused Edward Bray and the 66 and Kevin Scott Nelson to have to go up against the wall to try to get around him, and Edward got into the wall.
Number 20 of number 20 of David Casey. Now that is a rule that slower traffic does indeed go to that higher side. Unfortunate break there for Edward Bray. Now I do believe that is the first contact that Edward Bray has had, so he should be in good shape. Ought to be able to get in and out of pit row and grab a reset. But I tell you, he might be steamed though right now.
Oh, I'm sure he's steamed, and on top of that, no caution come out, so therefore, you know, he's probably going to lose a lap.
That'll put John Rogers, Joseph Rice out on that front line. Edward Bray in third, flying solo. Kevin Scott Nelson in fourth, flying solo. Roger Proctor in fifth place, solo. Ronald Klein solo as well. Howard Bell solo as well. And Chris Hogue solo as well. And solo at Talladega or Daytona, it's not where you want to be.
No, that's not where you want to be, because if you don't have a dancing partner to draft with, you're not going anywhere at Talladega or Daytona. It's all about the draft at Daytona and Talladega. That's the only way you make speed. It's the only way you can race this track and be competitive.
No caution indeed, though. 73 of 100 in the books. Race leader John Rogers, Joseph Rice, position 2. Nothing but clean air out there in front for John Rogers and Joseph Rice. Expecting them to get into green flag pit stops. They are the only 2 drivers on that lead lap. Edward Bray indeed falling 1 lap down. Howard Bell is caught draft onto the rear end of Joseph Rice, but he is 5 laps down.
Yeah, Kevin Scott Nelson just went around the 55, and if I was out there, even though the 55 has maybe got some damage, I would have stayed on 55 and pushed him to help me build more speed to catch up to the field with.
2 is faster than 1.
Yeah, 2's faster than 1, and looks like the 55's trying to catch up to 24 so he can push him.
He's just about got him. 55, Roger Proctor, 1 lap down. Pit stops for Joseph Rice and John Rogers. Green flag pit stops. We are in car with the number 7 of Joseph Rice on lap 75 of 100. 18 lead changes. Roughly 6 cautions. Do not trust that ticker bar up there. That'll be a green flag pit stop for John and Joseph. Taking right sides. Only taking right sides. Now, you can get away with that here at Daytona.
Yeah, you can get away with that here at Daytona. Matter of fact, if you took tires on last time that you come in under caution, and you took all 4, you could have took this as a splash and go to the finish, and just got fuel.
But I tell you what a lot of these drivers don't know is you may as well go in and take 2 tires, because while they're putting in the fuel, takes the same amount of time to throw on 2 tires. You lose that time when you put on the 3rd and the 4th tire.
That is correct if you have to take a full load of fuel, and it depends on how much fuel you got to take as to how long it takes you to take fuel.
Edward Bray getting a little bit of help from the number 88. Actually, 88 getting help from Edward Bray here on lap 76 of 100. That'll put Edward Bray back onto that lead lap. Edward Bray in 3rd position behind the leader at 5.3 seconds. But don't let that deceive you, folks. Edward Bray still has yet to make his scheduled pit stop.
I don't think you're going to see Edward Bray have to make a pit stop. He was in there and had to get repairs or get a replacement car from that damage he got.
Did he get in there?
Replacement car, I'd get fuel.
Yep. Okay, so he did get in there.
Yeah, he went into pits and got a replacement car.
Well, then he's good to go. He's not out of this yet.
No, I don't think he's out of it. No, by no means.
Now, but he's got to get caught up there to Joseph and John, because I'm not sure Howard has enough fuel. Now, they are gaining. They're at 3.3 from 3.6. So Edward and Howard gaining. Hopefully Howard can last out there on fuel until they do catch Joseph and John. Oh, we may yet have a race, Joel.
Yeah, I have all ideas that Edwards going to be a force to be reckoned with before the end of this race, as long as Roger stays with him or Howard stays with him till he gets to the.
Oh, but wait, we've got a change of plans right here. Edward Bray going up to pick up his teammate with Kma Racing, Ronald Klein. All right, so now we've got a Black Talon, RTK, a KMA thing going right here, and they're going to fall back down. They're going to pick up the draft of the number 88. All right, right now they are 2.7, 2.6. All right, we've got a 3-on-2. Tell me how that's going to work out on a 3-on-2.
If they can keep the 3-on-2 going all the way to the lap 100, the 3-on-2 is going to be in front.
We're going to keep an eye on that differential counter status bar. They're down to the 2.4 range with 21 laps to go. 2.3 ticking with 2.3. I just seen a 2.2. Can I get a 2.1? In a minute here, I'm going to start bidding. They're down to a 2.1. Can I get a 2.0?
Oh, you're going to get all the way down to 0.01 here shortly.
They're down to 1.8.
Yeah, see, three makes about probably 15 mile per hour faster than two-wheel.
And Howard Bell and Ronald Klein, absolutely nothing to lose here, but what they have to gain is getting one of the KMA admins up there to the front line. They've caught him, Joel. They're at 1.1, and Ronald doing a swap, getting a little hot, going to let Edward Bray take that second position on this line, not costing a lot of speed. What they're trying to do right now, they know Joseph is hot. Joseph cannot push the same degree as an unhot car. Edward Bray's nice and cool. They have caught him. Let's see if Howard Bell goes to the outside, and Howard Bell indeed going to that outside lane. Edward Bray, Ronald Klein following. So we've got a race right now between John Rogers, Edward Bray, and Joseph Rice. Howard and Ronald there to help. And it looks like they're going to stay true to Edward Bray.
Yeah, Edwards not out of it by any chance. Like I said, I had no even contention to think that Edward was out of this race.
Howard Bell dropping down, Edward Bray dropping down. That'll leave Ronald Klein up on that outside lane. Joseph Rice down on the inside showing his support for Pad. People against distracted driving. Lap 83 of 100, 17 to go, 19 lead changes, roughly 6 cautions. Joel and I came in late, so you won't get the start of tonight's broadcast. We picked her up live about lap 30. Stay tuned Friday, folks. We are going to be at Michigan in the Cup Cars. We are on week 3 of our 15-week season. Big shout out there to Blaze Pizza, Greg McClendon, putting on the show for us Friday night in the Cup Cars at Michigan.
Well, Edwards going to keep the 88 in front of him as a block to stop anybody else from getting in front of him.
Chris Hogue heading into pit row for his green flag pit stop. Very nice looking car there being driven by Chris Hogue. Chris Hogue taking right sides, taking left sides. Chris Hogue sticking in pit road, getting some optional damage repaired. Getting back out on the front line with Edward Bray. Edward Bray following Howard Bell. Howard Bell sitting at 3 laps down.
Yeah, as long as Edward keeps Howard Bell in front of him, it's going to be hard for anybody to pass Edward, because he can always move up or he can come back down. And he can push harder to get away from somebody instead of having to depend on somebody else to push him. You know, I've noticed something, Scott, while we've been watching this and broadcasting. It doesn't matter how many times we advise drivers to stay off that yellow line here at Daytona, because it will take you out. I see people drive all down across that yellow line. It's like a magnet. They can't get away from it, it looks like.
Well, I think Edward Bray and Howard Bell, they're doing a pretty good job of it. We've got the cameras focused on the left side, and it appears that Edward Bray is actually almost about a half a car with, you know, his shadow's not even touching that yellow line. Edward Bray doing a most excellent job. Howard Bell getting down a little bit closer right there. John Rogers keeping a respectable distance, but you're right. You know, early on, we saw a lot of that yellow line getting chewed up. As we roll along it, folks, take a look at that yellow line, and you're going to see the rubber marks. There's a whole bunch of rubber marks right there. Right there. There's some more rubber marks coming out of 1 and 2. And I tell you, though, it's not only the fault of the inside, it's also the fault of that middle lane. Because what will happen, Joel, the middle lane, they want to get that thing called side draft, and you're going to explain the side draft here in a second. But they get that side draft going, and they got to get really tight, and they end up pushing the inside car down onto that yellow, to where the inside car has to make a decision. Do I get down there and bite that yellow, or on my right side, do I take the door slam from the guy getting the side draft? Now, what is side draft, I ask?
Well, you've got two different kinds of drafting here. You got bumper-to-bumper drafting, which is the normal drafting that you see Edward and the 88 car, the 66 and the 88 car doing right now. It's being almost touching bumpers, running right behind each other. That's called drafting. And then when you go to side draft, what you do is you get away from the car beside you, and you feel the car, your car kind of slow down a little bit. So then you pull over against that car, and it creates kind of like an air brake on their car and drags them backwards but shoots you forward at the same time. And that's what side drafting is. It's a technique to slow the car down beside you but give you extra speed to get by them.
Good information right there. All right, folks, give you a quick race update. 19 lead changes, 90 laps in the books. John Rogers leading 43, Edward Bray leading 34. It's pretty much a drag race between Edward, John, and Joseph. But we've got several drivers out here trying to give a helping hand. Edward Bray, John Rogers, Joseph Ryson, 1, 2, 3. Kevin Scott Nelson, 39 seconds back. Ronald Proctor, 2 laps back. Ronald Klein, 3 laps back, but still helping hand. Howard Bell, 4 laps down. Chris Hogue, 12 down, but Chris Hogue still rolling. What a trooper there, Chris Hogue, tonight.
I just heard some disturbing information on my scanner, Scott, that from Howard Bell in the 88. He said he's going to be about 2 laps short on fuel, so that's going to leave Edward with no running mate unless 76 Ronald Klein can get up to his bumper, which it looks like he's trying to do now.
Edward Bray heeding that advice and getting up. So that's going to put the number 7 and the number 22 needing to team up, because at this point in time, 76 and 66, they just became best friends.
Yeah, they'll stay hooked together and run it out to the end now. And 88, if the 88 gets back on track, if he goes in for fuel or something, he might get back on track, and they catch up to him and pick him up in the draft and get a 3-car draft again.
All right, so we're going to be looking at the number 76 in cahoots with the 66, and the 22 working with the number 7. Now the 76 is a lap car, so he's not in it for the win. He's in it to help. You got to help out your team. Now John Rogers and Joseph Rice, neither driver, are on the KMA communication channel within TeamSpeak. So we already know who's going out with who tonight. We know that information. Let's talk about lane usage. What lane does Edward Bray and Ronald Klein, or Joseph and the number 22 John, inside, outside lane?
Well, I think they'd rather be on the inside lane. Edward would rather be on the inside lane, but he can do it from the outside lane. I've seen him do it many times before from the outside lane. But the preferable lane is the inside lane.
Preferred lane is the inside lane. Well, once Howard Bell does go into pit row, he's going to have to announce it. And that is just going to slightly check up that inside lane. And I'm pretty sure Edward and Ronald will want to get down there as soon as possible. It's lap 95, 5 to go. This thing's just about over.
Yeah, it is, but I see Howard Bell staying out there until the very last second, since he's laps down anyhow, to give Edward and Ronald Klein a better position to get in front and to the win.
All right, I'm going to try to raise Greg McClendon one more time. How about it, Greg? Are you back yet? All righty, Greg in channel, but not near his microphone. Nonetheless, big shout out there to Greg McClendon. Now, Howard Bell is one of the friends of Greg McClendon.
Yes, he is, and he has drove a definitely good race tonight. I mean, he has been spot on with his driving line, and he can hold the line good, he can draft, he can push. He's a very good and very skilled driver.
96 of 100, 4 to go. '22 starting to put a little bit of pressure on the number 88. Pretty sure Edward Bray has this wrapped up. I tell you, it's going to be Edward Bray or the number 22 of John Rogers.
Well, my money's on Edward Bray.
And remember, folks, this is an unscheduled live broadcast of Kma TV, so if it's John Rogers, he's not on our radio comms, so we won't be able to get an interview in with John or Joseph. But if Edward wins it, of course, we're going to talk to Edward and Ronald Klein. This is an unscheduled broadcast, but glad you are out there hanging out with us. Race got over and had to make a decision whether or not to go out and fold the laundry or throw up a broadcast, and well, the broadcast looked a lot more appealing than the laundry did.
Definitely did.
Tomorrow night, running at Michigan. And the Cup cars contact there. Easy, 22, easy. Now that would have been a heartbreaker right there for the number 66.
Yes, it would have. And I just heard another piece of information on the scanner. He was looking at the number of laps he had, 88 was, and him being 3 laps down, he actually does have enough fuel to make it to the end.
Oh, well, that's not good news for Edward Bray then, because that 88's pulling that 22. Ooh.
Yeah, that's not good news for him.
Well, like Scooby-Doo would say, rut-row. All right, he's going to be a drag race right now. It is lap 99 of 100. Drivers will be taking white flag this time around. Right now, Edward Bray.
I think you'll see 76 get on all the way on Edwards' bumper in just a second and really start pushing hard.
There's that side draft. Whoa, 22.7. That'll wrap it up. We are waiting for the final results. Lap 100 of 100. That'll wrap it up for Edward Bray. What do you think?
No, it'll be John Rogers, Edward Bray in second, and Joseph Rice in third.
Alrighty, I am waiting for my information to update. We're going to quickly jump at those race results and verify. Alrighty, you are correct. It is indeed John Rogers. John Rogers bringing it home tonight. Thought for sure Edward was going to have that one, but nonetheless it is John Rogers. How about it, Edward, if you got a copy, sir?
Doing pretty good there, Scott.
Alrighty, very quickly, we can't get John or Joseph. They're not on comms on this unscheduled event. But real quick, talk to us before we cut out of here.
Oh, that was a great finish there, Scott. Ronald was pushing the heck out of me. 88 sort of was on the radio saying that he was going to be short fuel, so Ronald, I went ahead and went high with Ronald, expecting that the 88 would drop in and the other John Rogers and all that would fall back, but evidently the 88 had enough fuel to take it to the end.
Alrighty, you did a great job out here tonight. We got a little bit scared here and there, but nonetheless, good job out there to you.
Thanks, Scott.
Alrighty, Joel, we're going to wrap this up. Flash those results one more time. Hey, appreciate you jumping up here in the booth with me, sir.
You're welcome, Scott. Glad to help, and hope to see you tomorrow night at the race. I've got to go meet with my rig builder tomorrow afternoon, so I don't know if I'll get back in time to be in the race or not.
Alrighty, copy that. I'll see, but I'll be here either way it goes. You have a good night, Joel.
You too, Scott.